All right, so I'm gonna go over some of the NFL's franchise tags. So I see the Broncos, they franchise tag Von Miller. He should make anywhere between about like 14 to 15 million. He went to the Pro Bowl four out of five times. He has 60 sacks over the 5 years he's with them, so he averaged 12 sacks a year. Took them to a Super Bowl. The last Super Bowl that he played in, well, he was hurt the last time they had played a Super Bowl, so that probably would have been a difference. So that gives them time before training camp to get a deal done. They didn't use the tag on Osweiler, the quarterback, or Malik Jackson. But I think a player of his caliber, I think you have to, try to get a deal done. Because the way he was, he obviously dominated that game. He got MVP. And when you're a player like that, you have to try to get a deal done or anything like that. Well, as far as like, John Elway and the staff or anything like that, when you have a player of that magnitude, and pretty much, he single-handedly won you a Super Bowl. Because of his presence, you could see the difference in how the defense played. It definitely would have been a different story if he wasn't playing. Next up they have, Josh Norman. He got franchise tag, so he wants to be paid like, Richard Sherman, Patrick Peterson, and Darrelle Revis, which is making about 14 million a year. So he should get around in between 11.9 to 13.9 million under the franchise tag. He had 56 tackles, 14 interceptions, and 2 touchdowns. I think at this point in his career, if he wants to be one of the, best corners in the game, I always talk about, the difference between great players and good players and great players is what they can make a difference on the field. There was 2 interceptions I think he could have had in a Super Bowl. I'm not saying that, that would have made a difference, but it possibly could have changed the outcome of the game. When you're, a player of his caliber and you're talking all that smack and everything, you definitely have to bring it. Those are interceptions that, he could have caught, which could have, jump started his team or anything like that. He's getting all that money, but you gotta come to play. You can cover somebody, you got to be able to catch too. But I remember I was a receiver. They used to talk about being a receiver, and they tell you, the difference between DBs and receivers is receivers are, DBs that can't cover nobody, and they would say, DBs are receivers they can't catch. So I remember that back in high school. Then you look at the Rams. Trumaine Johnson. So there was 2 franchise tags. They were going to use one on either on Jenkins, the other corner, but he ended up firing his agent, so that just made it easy for the Rams to franchise tag Johnson, 14 million. Now he had a breakout season, 71 tackles, 7 interceptions, and 2 touchdowns. Then you look at Kirk Cousins in Washington, kind of playing it smart, so they kind of want to have something in their back pocket with the non-exclusive franchise tag. So with that, he's going to end up making about 20 million this year, 19.953. So therefore, he can negotiate with other terms. But worst case scenario, if Washington decides to decline it, then they can get 2 first-round draft picks, which they may be looking for somebody or anything like that. But he wants a long-term deal. So they're obviously working on giving him a long-term extension because, according to them, they kind of want him to still prove himself. He has 69.8% on his passing completions, 4,166 yards passing, 29 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. He did take him to a playoff appearance or anything like that. And that outcome could have been different, but Green Bay ended up winning that one. So also the Chiefs, they end up franchise tagging Barry. He'll make about 10.8 million, but he can talk to other teams as well. So again, he has a non-exclusive franchise tag. So if the Chiefs decline, they'll get 2 first-round draft picks. But I doubt if they'll, let him go. And I think Barry wants to stay there. I think again, he's the type of player kind of like a Von Miller and a safety that, obviously has an impact on the defense, which allows them to, play a lot better. So even when they had that long game winning streak or anything like that, he did have 61 tackles, 2 interceptions, 10 pass deflected. 4 Pro Bowl appearances. NFL's comeback player of the year, first team All Pro. So obviously, he definitely has the work ethic because you can tell even when he had, with the diagnosis that he had, he came back and he worked through it, and that type of player, obviously, he's kind of like a player type coach, so he can allow players around him to become better because he's gonna be like, listen, man, let's work hard or anything like that. One of them guys you always want in the weight room that's always, going above and beyond. But typically it's funny, but when kickers, they get franchise tag. So Justin Tucker got franchise tag, but I mean, he'll make about $4.5 million, around almost 4.6. The Dolphins use their tag on defensive end. Vernon, he's going to make about $12.7 million. He turned down a contract. The Dolphins offered him a contract worth $12 million. But they can, match any offer in the open market when they go for free agency or anything like that. The Bears, I mean, I can see where they franchise tag Alshon Jeffrey, $14.5 million. Seeing as though they really don't have anybody under the to really pay a lot to. I mean, they have the third most room, so they can look for other players as well. And at least this year, they can see if this injury doesn't plague him, and if it does, they can look for somebody else versus giving him a long contract. And then, he still be injury prone. So they'll probably look for somebody in the draft, a few receivers.